What does it really take to turn a thriving career in the arts to a business? Well, on this episode of the Power of After Show, I sit down with world-class conductor and former child prodigy Robert Emery to explore the intersection of creativity and entrepreneurship. With over 2 decades in the industry, Robert shares how he continues to decide what's next, how he can stay motivated and build a sustainable business that continues to grow. And it's based on more than just raw talent. From growing a powerful email list and touring the world as a conductor and music director to creating orchestral meditation music and launching a TED's list, his influential music education program. So this conversation, it offers some practical insights and inspiration for anyone looking to transform their artistic passion into meaningful income and long-term impact. So additionally, I hope that you will be inspired to continue enjoying and promoting the arts in your sphere of influence. So stay tuned. You've spent years building what matters. Now, with Power of After courses and elite mentorship, it's time to move forward with intention and impact. This is the Power of After Show. Let's get started. Well, I'm thrilled to have Robert with us today. We're going to have a great conversation. I'm so excited, and welcome.
Thank you.
From across the pond, as I say.
Indeed.
Yes. So we are on totally different time frames, but we got this worked out.
Yeah.
So, Robert, even though I've given you a brief introduction, I like my guests to tell me briefly a little bit about their background because they will love to hear, my guests will love to hear your accent. And as we call it over here, the accent anyway. I'm in Southern California, so. But a little bit of your background is quite impressive, but you love what you do. So I think that's an amazing, and I've been an artist for years, a recording artist as well. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more from you. So why don't you give us a brief introduction?
Yeah, sure. Fundamentally, I'm a musician at heart. I've grown up with music. I started playing music about the age of 7. I became a professional musician at the age of 10. Studied piano at the Royal College of Music, and then very quickly moved into conducting, composing, orchestrating, producing records, touring around the world in some of the best concert halls, best arenas that you could ever imagine. And I've just had one hell of a ride. I'm unbelievably lucky to do what I do. And quite frankly, I make money out of the thing I love doing, and I'm blessed for that. So I can't complain in the slightest.
And there's going to be people that go, how do you make money in the arts? So, and I've been a part of NARAS and of the Grammy organizations for a number of years. So, it's, there's a true thing of the starving artists until you get to a certain point. So you were able to start very, very young. So that's a wonderful thing. And you also answer what's next in your life because you've gone through some changes. Now, you were like a child prodigy. Okay. So, but that only gets you so far.
Yeah.
You've got to develop the talent, you've got to develop the business. So, as you've been in that professional musician world for so long, and you do a lot of production now, apparently, in your studio, and you just recorded this huge album with a symphony and, a conductor as well. So how do you go about answering that question, what's next? Because you've got talent behind you, you've got all of this experience behind you, but you're still answering some of those same questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the whole what's next question is something that everybody should apply to themselves every day.
Oh.
And the answer is, what is next? Well, what's next is tomorrow. And tomorrow for me won't look like today, and it won't look like yesterday. And it's always tricky being a professional musician. You can very quickly fall into the trap of you've reached your pinnacle. You've played Sydney Opera House, you've played the Royal Albert Hall, you've done Carnegie Hall, you've done all these amazing venues, and you go, well, what's next? Well, the wonderful thing about making music is that you go on stage, you see an audience, and then hopefully a couple of hours later, you've enriched their lives somehow. You've made them a little happier, a little calmer maybe in life, and you've given them some form of entertainment, whether that's quite formal entertainment and quite complicated if you're doing a Beethoven symphony, or I work with people like Meatloaf, for instance, and whether you're doing a rock concert. It doesn't really make any difference. Fundamentally, you're trying to make people's lives a little bit happier. And what's next is continue doing that, continue evolving as a musician, as a human. I'm a very different musician. I'm a very different human today than I was 5 years ago. I'm a much calmer person now. I'm generally just more happy with myself. I have more patience than I certainly had 5 years ago, and maybe having 3 children under the age of 10 has helped that.
Oh my!
So yeah. So what's next is tomorrow, and we have to see what tomorrow brings, deal with it, and then move on. And what's next after that is the day after.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's so important. It keeps mentally, a lot of this is mindset and how to stay centered in what you're doing and loving what you're doing. Life isn't always easy, but
life is never easy.
Never easy. Yeah, I shouldn't say isn't always. It's just never easy. So okay,
no, it's not. But do you know what? I always think if life were easy, it would be terribly boring.
Yes, exactly.
And the sense of satisfaction of overcoming a difficulty is wonderful. I had a call first thing this morning from an investor in a project I'm doing, and he said, "Look, I'm pulling out for various reasons. I'm not going to be able to invest in the project." And all of a sudden, the whole project might collapse. And you take 3 or 4 minutes to go, oh God, that's terrible. How am I going to deal with this? And then 15 minutes later, I'm on the phone to somebody else, and I have another investor in place, and the project continues. And that could be a nightmare for me, that type of scenario. But I think it's about how you deal with it. Like you said, the mindset, always trying to be positive, and issues will always come to you. Just accept them and deal with them and move on.
They sure do. There's always going to be a new issue. So, but
I always think Nike, the shoe company, I think they've got the best slogan in the world. Just do it.
Just do it.
I mean,
totally.
It's very difficult to beat that.
Yeah. And it really applies to all the areas of our lives, our physical life, our work, our emotional, our relationships, everything, and just moving ahead. Definitely. So, well, what are some of the things that you do to be motivated as an entrepreneur, as an artist? It's kind of just how do you be refreshed, and how do you keep moving ahead? Like what you did with that call this morning is you got right back on the phone. Yep. So that takes some discipline. But how do you personally keep motivated? You have a busy life, apparently, with those 3 kids. My goodness. I've done the same thing, believe me. So, and it's a balancing act there, and it brings you a lot of joy, but it's just busy. So how do you stay motivated?
Well, I think variety is the spice of life. And having that variety keeps you entertained. And I'm really lucky in my job that I don't do the same thing day in, day out. And I'll have some years where I'll spend 9 months of the year producing records, and I'll be in the music studio and places like Abbey Road Studios on a weekly basis recording. And then I'll have some years where I might not do that at all, and I'll be touring around the world for 9 months and away from home, which has its own challenges. And then there'll be other times in my life where I'm producing live events or writing meditation music, which is my new one of my new ventures. And so I think having variety, making sure you don't settle into some sort of tedious routine and trying to always inject yourself with that energy that you need to keep going. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really important. It's probably quite easy to do that in music, to be fair. And,
Yes.
I can imagine if you're a doctor or something and you're doing your weekly shifts, it's not so easy to generate that. And I think the difference there is I don't have time for an external life aside from my music. So I don't have
Mm-hmm.
hobbies. I don't have chill time at the moment. I'm working 100 hours a week to try and fit everything in. So any free time I try, which is very little, I try and spend it with the family. But I think, if you do shift work, your life is probably a bit more regimented than mine. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have to use your external time away from work to inject that energy into yourself by doing different things. But
Right.
it's variety.
The variety. I like that. So, and it is consuming. In the arts, it's consuming. There's always another song. There's always another article. There's always another something. You produce videos for your educational.
Yeah.
There's always something. There's it's
Yeah.
endless, and the ideas are endless.
Yeah.
So they never shut off. There's a spigot.
I know, and on January the 1st, I thought I would start this mad new sort of series that I've been running called Ask the Maestro,
Hmm.
where people from around the world are emailing me in, writing to me on social media, asking questions about
Hmm.
how do you do what you do? What does a conductor do? How do you deal with stage fright? Or how do you write music? Or how do you read a musical score? Or, there's hundreds and hundreds of questions that have come in, and every single day I make it my target to get on the phone and do a 3 or 4 minute video answering these things. And
Hmm.
it was a bonkers idea, and so far we're on day 120 or something,
Oh my
and
goodness.
and I've said I'm going to do it every single day this year until the end. So I'll see it through.
Well, good for you. Consistency. That's
Yeah.
That's putting one foot in front of the other, and that consistency is so very important. And that's what people quit way, way too soon. That's a principle as well. But yeah, it's persistent. That's one of my core value, not just values, strengths.
Mm.
You don't quit. You've got to. If it's not one way that's going to work, another way it'll work. And good for you to do that 2 to 3 minute. I'm trying to do some of that with live streaming right now, and it's you just have to do it. You have
Mm.
to make the time, plan a little bit, and just go ahead and do it. It's so much easier now too. I'm sure you've gone through the tech um, progression and how the technology. It's just amazing what technology is. I'm older than you, so when I did graduate work, we had the music typewriters. were for $20,000. So
Yeah.
things I had published were,
Wow.
they were all, black ink on the fingers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that shows you the time that I came through. But, to me, it's just amazing. You can just, do so much online now. So, I love this next question because you can't depend on talent alone. A lot of people think, "Oh, I just need, more talent or more, it's inspiration and all of this." But there's a definite I was not taught through my school, especially in music, the business part.
Mm.
It was always about the next gig or to do, unless you went into teaching, which I did a little bit of that as well, quite a bit of that actually. But how do you develop the business? And what are some of your top tips, especially for those who are in the arts or wanting to go into the arts? There's people that are at mid-career and they've always wanted. I have some friends like this. Now they're working in their band or they're working at, they're starting to develop. How do you actually work at your level too? You were even at a different level than most. But on the business part of it, what are some of your top tips for those in a creative field?
So I think the answer kind of applies to anybody who is freelance. So
Hmm.
regardless of if you're a musician or a painter and decorator or a plumber, or somebody who makes furniture for a living, the answer still stays the same, which is understand you're a business.
Hmm.
Uh, just because you are representing yourself doesn't mean that you're not a business. And unfortunately, I would say less than 5% of musicians who come out of music college end up being a professional musician. And it
I
has
agree.
nothing to do with their talent, because they are
Yes.
all uber talented. There are so many people in this world who are far more talented at music than I'll ever be. But I did understand from day one, from a very young, early age, that to be able to be successful and have a decent career, you have to treat yourself as a business. And it doesn't matter if you are like Jeff Bezos on day one of Amazon, where he couldn't afford a desk, so he took the door off his garage and lay it on its side and used that as a desk. He understood the concept. He at that point, the day he formed that company, he was a business, even though he had
Right.
no income.
Mhm.
And I'm just the same. I'm a business. I have to meet people, schmooze people, talk to
Mhm.
people, network well. And there's a great saying, which is, you're only as good as your last gig.
Yes.
And
Yes. I've said that a
yeah,
lot.
and but also that does transfer to,
Mhm.
your painter and decorator, because
Exactly.
I can tell you 75-80% of the work that a painter and decorator or a plumber gets are
Mhm.
from personal recommendations.
Yes,
And you only
they are.
get those if you're brilliant. And the
Mhm.
very time where you do a seriously bad job, and instead of painting the wall purple, you paint it green,
Mhm.
everybody's going to know about it. And so
Yes.
you're only as good as your last gig. So keep your standards as high as you can and always do your best. All you can ever
Right.
do is you do your very best. And if your
Right.
best isn't good enough, that's okay sometimes,
Right.
because you can
Mhm.
hand on heart say, I did what I could do. What
Right.
I'm able to do is inside me. I did that. And if it didn't work out, I know for next time to not do
Mhm.
that. And that's all you need to remember, I think.
Yes. And there's a lot of people that are working all the time. They may not be your top talent coming out of, you know, the prodigies coming out, but they know how to do business and they keep working because they keep pursuing engagements and relationships, and that's very, very important. Really good word of advice, especially for artists who tend to be more introvertish. And you have to kind of come out of yourself to do that. I'm an introvert. I love working on my computer. I like working. I've written and written and written and written. Um, but it's intentional. I love people as well, but it's intentional to reach out. So that has to be an intentional thing and a continuous thing that needs to happen as well. Because a lot of artists, they just love to create. They love to sit in their own little corner and just do the creating. And
Yeah, and do you know what? That's okay, as long as you
Mhm.
accept that the phone
Yes,
is not going to ring by itself. The
exactly.
phone only rings when
Yes,
people need you for something,
yeah,
and they'll only need you if they know about you or have heard about you, or if
yes,
you've dealt with them before or spoken with them
right,
before
right,
or met them in meetings and you follow them up. So you
right.
always have to have a plan.
Mhm.
Never just rely that I'm going to wait for the phone to ring and my big break will come, because it's
Yeah,
unlikely to do so.
right,
Have
right.
a plan, and force the people to dial your number and
Right.
make that phone ring.
And that leads right into the next question that I have, which is a good one about marketing, because because you're a creator, you're a conductor, and excuse me, that cough just kind of came on. Sorry about that.
That's right.
Should have muted myself. But you have a large email list. Okay. And building our email lists is a challenge. People drop off, but it's okay if they drop off if they're not going to be interested. You don't want to just keep spamming people. But how did you go about some of the business aspects with your marketing and building up those areas for you? Because it's a big deal when people say, "Oh, I've got all these followers." That doesn't always mean anything to me,
Yeah.
and you can have a million likes and still not be working. So, but you do have a good following. So, how did you go about doing some of the building?
So I think what's more important from statistics is not number of followers or
Right.
number of people on your email list. It's about engagement. It's
Okay.
about there's a great book. It's called oh gosh, top t- true 1,000 fans or something like that.
Yes.
We should find the note and give it out.
Yes.
It's a brilliant book,
Yes.
and it
I've heard
essentially
of that.
says you can
Mhm. Another book.
you can create a very good career for yourself with 1,000 dedicated, hardcore fans, believers, rather
Yes.
than a million people who have vaguely heard of you, who
Right.
have follow you on social media but don't engage with you. And so
Yes.
I think it's about grabbing the right people at the right time. And the best way to do that is by giving a real clear proposition. So I don't sell a service. If I were selling chairs, I I would either design the most comfortable chair in the world ever, and that is a problem that I'm solving for people, and that problem is the problem that can be marketed. Or I would create a design which is one of the wackiest designs of chairs in the world ever, in which case you're going after the people who are interested not necessarily in comfort, but in really funky, unusual designs. Again, solving a problem for people who are like, I'm bored of my normal chair, I want to find an unusual chair. So I think if you've got a service to sell, find the problem, scratch the itch for people,
Right.
and then have a real clear proposition. If you're someone like me who your profile in general is just important, I just think you have to get in front of a camera and be on social media. I'm not a big social media fan, ironically. I don't use it personally. I use it professionally because I have to, but I don't spend any time on it personally. But I think I'm the exception rather than the rule there. So I produce a lot of content, and I don't perfect it. I am who I am. People like me or they don't. People are interested in me or they're not. And I'm only interested in the ones who are interested in me. So I don't spend any time editing or anything like that. It's just all natural. It's just I am who I am. Hopefully you like me. If you don't, no problem.
I really like that because that comes out. Authenticity is important, but people are trying to work on their authenticity. It's like,
ironic, isn't it?
just be authentic,
Yeah.
I mean, as the start of this, I said I do very little editing on these. I mean, basically, I do an intro and then, I have a team that'll do some of the video. I used to do all of it, but I've got to decide how to use my time.
Yep.
But it's really important, and that's why I'm doing more live streams, because it's important to do the non-script area, because the words don't always come out perfectly and as a perfect script. And I'd done scripted shows for some years, and it's fun. You want it to sound spontaneous, and it's a lot of work to make it sound spontaneous when you have a scripted show. And it did. It ended up doing that. But to get away from that and that's what people want to. They want to hear the heart. They want to hear what you are about. They want to get to know you. And video is an incredible tool. It is an incredible tool right now. And not just the sound, it's seeing people and things. When we had the shutdowns, that was the link to the world. All of a sudden, you want to see people, that relationship. And, we're still recovering some of that, but it's that relationship, how important that is. I love that with that connection that you are doing. Well, so let's talk about that a little bit more, because I want to talk about your meditation music too, but you're getting into what you said about your live streams or your little answering questions every morning. That's really in the education. And that kind of piqued my interest. I wrote a music book, music for kids, because I had been asked hundreds at least of times, if not thousands, oh, when do you start your kids on piano lessons and all of this? So, because I started teaching young, I didn't want to pull weeds or babysit the 5 kids next door. So I taught piano lessons, to adults, and all the way through, put me through school. But what is you have an educational kind of a drive, because you have that whole area of your business. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So actually, that was a COVID project. The thing about being a conductor is I can't sit in my house waving a stick isolated.
Yes.
The concept doesn't work.
Yes,
So,
I agree. Yeah.
So for 2 years, I couldn't work. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with my time? And I'm a big believer in music education.
Yes.
I think all children should have music education, not because necessarily they're going to go into the music business, far from it, but learning a musical instrument is a phenomenal thing to do. And if I had a dollar for every person who said to me, "Oh my gosh, I played piano as a child and then I gave up and it was the biggest mistake in my life,"
Yes.
I would be on some sort of
Yes.
island off Barbados or somewhere just
Yep.
chilling
I
for,
would too.
I'd be so
Exactly.
wealthy. Yeah.
Yes.
So music education is really important. And unfortunately, the quality and amount of music education, certainly here in the UK, and I think it's probably the same in the States, is going downhill rapidly.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
and when I was a kid at little school, we had music in our assemblies every morning. We had music classes at least 3 or 4 times a week. There was school band, school orchestra, which everybody joined in. It didn't matter if you play
Yes.
the triangle or the accordion or the piano. It didn't matter. And then that's just disappeared. And so I thought, do you know what? I'm going to create a small 10-page website called Ted's List, named after my oldest son, Teddy. It's teds-list.com. And I'm going to do like 10 pages just about, how do you tune a violin, for instance? And as I started this, I then had hundreds of professional musicians write into me saying, I'm out of work because of COVID. I'm stuck at home. Do you have any work for me?
Wow.
And I went, hold on, there's an opportunity here. So
Yeah.
I created a charitable foundation called the Emery Foundation. I raised money through the Emery Foundation, and that money then went directly to the professional musicians who are out of work. And in return for that money, they wrote world-class articles about their musical instrument, and it went on to Ted's List. So everything from how do you tune a guitar, how do you tune a violin, what is rosin for a string instrument, boom. How many notes are on a keyboard? Do I need a digital piano or an acoustic piano? What's the difference between an upright piano and a grand piano? It goes on and on and on for every single instrument. And that 10 pages has actually accidentally kind of turned into almost, well, in fact, over 1,000 pages now.
Wow.
And we're now the biggest musical education website in the world. At its height, we had 28 members of staff working on it. And that was supposed to be a tiny pet COVID project, which took up 3 years of my life by accident, and was just crazy. I love it. I think it's a great site. It's taken up an awful lot of time for no personal reward, apart from the fact that I've created this library of information out there. And if anybody listening wants to know anything about playing any musical instrument, just go on to teds-list.com and you can read all about it there.
Wonderful. I will put that link as well in the show notes. And it just, I looked at the website. It's just, it's an amazing, because I've said the exact same thing as you of, if I had a nickel for every person that wanted to, I wish I had never quit piano, or I wish I had continued. But music, with the spatial reasoning and with all of the, there's so much to that. And to be able to add that, and my sister was a professional violinist. I was her free accompanist. So, you just, I grew up loving, orchestral music, the classics as well. I was I'm an improvisational as well, big time. But the classics are just so amazing. I mean, every time I play Debussy and it was just wonderful. So there's so much to that, and I just think that's great. I hope everyone listening to this looks this up and is inspired, because yes, music has gone down into schools. They used to provide it so much in our district. I did not want to sit on PTA things. I thought, those are not for me when my kids were going through. So I went in and, said, I'll do your grade levels with music. So, and while my kids were going through, that's when I did. But it's important to add. And those kids ended up loving music. They do. They love it. They auditioned for little solos. They're excited. You've got to build that excitement and make it fun. So great. I'm so glad that you did that. My goodness, 3 years. Well, it filled up the time, didn't it?
It certainly did. It stopped me from being bored. Yeah.
Well, so on another area, though, is this meditation music. And I had the you call it meditation music. Sometimes we call it, new age and, all of that, but you've done it with a symphony orchestra. So tell me about that and that process, because that's a whole different area and what the style is and what led you to be doing that.
So that was coming out of COVID.
Hmm.
And those same musicians who were writing to me asking, do I have any work, were still writing towards the end of COVID when we restarted. And in general, concert halls and theatres were not opening up. They were still closed, but the recording studios were open. And so I thought it would be very interesting to do a project
Hmm.
involving a symphony orchestra. And I was racking my brains, and I realized one of the things that a lot of people were suddenly getting into over COVID is meditation.
Ah,
Yeah. Try and calm themselves, have that sense of calm.
yes.
And I started trying to listen to meditation music. And meditation is a scary word for a lot of people.
Yes.
But it doesn't need to be, because
Yeah.
meditation can be as simple as you need 3 minutes just to walk
Hmm.
and let your brain and your mind just space out for a bit. It can be as simple as that. It can be a formal practice where you sit down and cross your legs, and it can be anything in between. Um, and a lot of people like listening to music whilst they meditate. It helps them kind of switch off. And all the meditation music I could find, or the majority of it, was recorded digitally. And so if
Okay.
somebody wanted like a violin or some strings, they would sit there on their keyboard and playing it. And
Yeah.
I thought, what a shame, because fundamentally meditation is all about breathing. It's about listening to your body and trying to switch off your mind and let yourself escape. And then you're listening to this kind of formulaic, boring, badly written digital music. And I thought
Hmm.
that there has to be something better than this. So together with my colleague and best friend Moritz Schneider from Switzerland, we thought, how crazy would it be to get the National Philharmonic Orchestra, 96
Mm.
players, and the National Philharmonic Chorus of 35 into Abbey Road Studios in London, where they recorded all the Beatles music and all the film music, and record a symphonic meditation music, and also put microphones close to their mouths. So if we wanted to have them breathing within the track as well, we can do that. It's all natural, nothing digital about it, all recorded purely live. It was unbelievably expensive to produce.
Yes.
And and so it is like it's like the Rolls Royce of meditation music, um,
Yes.
but without the cost
Mhm.
for everybody else. I foot the bill, and it was just an amazing experience. And we had all these
Mm.
musicians come in after COVID. It was for
Mhm.
a lot of them, it was the first work that they had done since the lockdown, and the sense of calm and space. And we
Mhm.
recorded it in 3D binaural audio. So you put on your headphones and it
Mhm.
sounds like the orchestra is all around you. And then we did a lot of research to do with hertz, and there are certain frequencies that can do certain things to your mind and your body. There's a couple of really important ones. 528 hertz is a great frequency to try and sort of repair elements in your body. DNA repair is what it's called. And so we found notes that hit those hertz
Mhm.
and
Mm.
specific instruments, and then used those as drones, and then wrote music
Mm.
around that. And then launched orchestralmeditations.com. And ever since
Mm.
then, I've had people writing to me on a daily basis saying, this music has changed my life. It's just phenomenal. Thank you so much. And it was kind of one of these projects. It hasn't made money for me as such. It wasn't done for a monetary purpose. It was done as something that I thought the world needed in a strange way.
Mm.
And it's just worked unbelievably well. And so tomorrow we're actually releasing another 6 tracks. We were in the studio again a month ago, and they're ready to go. So
Wow,
it's a great pet project, which I personally love.
that's great. I
Yeah.
can't wait. I have not, personally, and I will, especially before this is released. I'm really looking forward to hearing some of that music, especially how you have described it. Because even when I was putting together some solo shows and working with a coach, and he was telling me how important it is to even hear the process of the breath.
Mm,
The breath is very important in singing, but it's important in instruments as well.
mm,
When we can hear that breath, and it's transferred quite a bit to speaking. And when you can hear that breath, there's a connection, a human to human connection. And if you can hear the different areas of a violin just hitting the string, there's a difference there. And to use that violin, and your synthesizers cannot emulate all of that. They
Yeah.
try to put a little of that in, and I've used all of that, of course, because it's more cost effective. But they can get some good sounds, but they cannot emulate the realness of the people. And that's a very interesting study too about the sound, the hertz, and um, and how that can repair emotionally, maybe writing someone's stress and anxiety. And that's a good resource for those. 80% of our population apparently is going through some sort of stress and
Yeah.
anxiety a lot.
Yeah, well, and it's I mean, there's a lot of scientific research done on this. This is
Yes.
not me, saying these hertz are going to change this body in the way. I'm not clever enough to do that. I just find the research like 174 hertz.
Okay.
That does something with the frequencies and the vibrational frequencies in your body. You got to remember, I can't remember the exact figure, but your body is a massively high percentage of water.
Yes,
and
it is.
and if you get a glass of water and put a speaker next to it, and then change the frequencies, you'll see the water vibrating
Yes.
differently. And if you think
Yes.
that is your body, that's how music affects you. So 174 hertz, it relieves tension and pain. So lots of people who've got bad backs and things, bad shoulders. You can listen to 174 hertz, and I would almost guarantee that you will feel a positive effect from that if you do it consistently.
Very, very interesting. I love that. That's
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I think that's really worth. Are you going to do now? You're going to release some more um,
Some more
tracks. Yeah, 6 more tracks.
Yeah.
And what are your plans for this? And how large? Well, sometimes you don't know how large it'll grow. It depends on the demand, I guess. But it's kind of a passion project, because you said it's extremely expensive. I can't imagine with
Yeah.
that many instrumentalists and vocalists
Yeah.
doing it live. I mean,
Yeah.
that's an expensive, very expensive project.
Yeah, we were about $500,000
Yeah.
for every time we have to go in and
Yeah,
record.
I believe it.
Yeah. So, hey, if I was sensible and had more time, I would probably spend a heck of a lot of time marketing this and
Yes.
pushing it through and trying to break even.
Mhm.
Ironically, in my music life, in my other music life, I'm just too busy at the moment to do that. So it's like I suppose it's a bit like a passion project, and then
Yes.
maybe one day it will break even, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not my reason for doing it, so I don't worry about it too much. I just want the people who know about it,
Yes.
who download this amazing music, and it really can change their lives. I just love receiving those emails saying, thank you so much, please do more. What incredible resource. There is no other meditation music on the planet like this.
That's great. I'm very, very excited. Of course, all those links will be in the show notes as well. The neat thing about this, and I understand, okay, can you pay off this project? What ends up happening many times is that you get other work. And it's not really totally related to it, but it pays for some of those other things. I mean, there's so many things I've done different. I've written, I mean, you've written musicals too. Talk about a money pit if you don't, that's that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Producing those, it really is. But they're passion, they're fun, and they're, to put the actors, everything all together. It's a lot of work, and that may not pay off for many, many years. But it usually gets you other work, and you can pursue other areas and still be doing that, marketing on the side. It's hard to keep everything going though, and especially as a creative artist, you created an immense amount of work, and it's a balancing act with all of this, definitely. So. Well, what do you see? I'd like to do a couple things as we kind of land the plane here. Um, as maybe some of the takeaways that you have for those who are listening, answering what's next. And mid-career, halftime of life comes really, really fast. It comes really fast. The years just really go by quickly. And
Yeah.
people are at different stages, whether they're still raising kids or their kids are getting to that place to where you have a little more freedom, or you've worked on a job for years, or maybe you've not worked as much and now you're wanting to work more. What sort of advice and what sort of takeaway would you have from your message, not only as an artist, a creative artist, but you also one in business? You are really working on the business. So what? Let's start with that.
Well, I think you've already said it. Put
Mhm.
one foot in front of the other and
Mhm.
keep going. And I know that's a very easy thing to say,
Mhm.
but it's a very difficult thing to do.
Mhm.
But I think you have to do that. You have to have this sense of self-belief.
Mhm.
You have to have this sense of self-confidence, not arrogance, but just
Right.
this knowledge that I'm on a path that I'm supposed to be on, and I know I will end up where I want to be one day. That
Right.
one day might be tomorrow, or it might be 10 years from now. But you
Mhm.
have to have that sense of self-belief that you will get there, and you will.
Yes. Yes.
As long as you believe it and you have a plan and you work hard enough, it
Right.
won't happen. I love manifestation. Um, it's a subject that fascinates me, and a lot of people think it's kind of woo-woo, and I get why they might think that. But and I've never sort of used manifestation as a formal thing. I've never sort of written on a piece of paper, I want $1 million
Mhm.
in my bank account tomorrow and hope it just randomly appears. I'm not that person. I don't believe that.
Yes.
But what I can tell you is that there have been so many instances in my life where
Mhm.
I have seen, when I was 10 years old, I saw a conductor conduct a show in the West End in London. And I circled his name and I said, that's what I want to do when I grow older.
Yeah, great.
Um,
Mhm.
8 years later, I moved to London to
Mhm.
go to the Royal College of Music, and I get a job in a church playing the church organ. And
Mhm.
the first day I'm there, the vicar says, I'd like to introduce you to somebody who I think might be useful for you. And the person who I circled as a 10-year-old boy literally
Wow.
walked down the aisle, and he was the person who gave me my first ever job as a professional musician. And so I didn't do that as a 10-year-old kid thinking I'm going to manifest this. It's
Right,
just
right.
about putting the messages into the world, whatever you believe, whether you believe in God
Mhm.
or not, whether you
Right.
believe in the divine earth or not.
Mhm.
It's just about, there is something magical about this place that we live on called Earth. Nobody can
Mhm.
really explain it. Nobody really knows. But
Right.
it is magical in some way, shape, or form. And it's about giving yourself the confidence to say, I'm going to trust that
Mhm.
this power, this magic, this wonderful place that we're currently living on will provide for me. You just have
Mhm.
to be very clear what that is you want.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And that's it's not just goals. It's like
No.
outlining some of your dreams and where you see yourself. And that's very, very important in keeping projects moving ahead as well.
Yeah.
And that's extremely important. So, speaking of that, when you're thinking about what's next, what are you kind of some of your upcoming projects? Because that's always interesting as an artist.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
No?
for me, I'm lucky that every single day is different, and almost every month I start a new project.
Mhm.
I've got a concert in Italy in June where I've got to write. Sorry, in July where I've got to write 2 hours worth of new music. I've got another concert in June in Switzerland where I've got to write another 2 hours worth of music. And then in October I'm touring Germany with a real funky new concept called Cosmos and Orchestra, which is
Mhm.
combining astrology with music. Um, so we did a trial run last year in Switzerland in August, and it worked
Mhm.
unbelievably well. So we're taking that across Germany, Austria, and back to Switzerland in October. and that will see me through to the end of the year, really. And then we have projects lined up in the diary for 2027 and 2028 onwards. I'm in the process of writing a new musical. You've already said about what a money pit that can be, but thankfully I'm just writing this and I don't have to produce it.
That's nice.
And yeah. Like I've said already, variety is the spice of life. Keep
It
doing
is.
radically different projects and it'll keep you alive.
And I love it that you're continuing to create. I think I finally figured this out. And because I had been I'm still working, doing music, of course, and also promoting my music, but still work with the Disney Corporation. I just did a gig with there the other day. And those are smaller things. They keep my chops up pretty much. So,
Mm.
but it's always, that's always going to be there. But I figured out, what I really, really love is the creative process.
Yeah.
So I like the writing. I like, and working on another book right now, and the whole, and of course, video and production and doing all. It's just there's a whole area of being able to expand. So it just keeps life very interesting, very busy,
Mm.
very busy. But this has been so much fun talking. Really, to someone at your level and understanding some of the creative process has just been great. And because there's a lot of people that are just doing gigs,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's not a lot that have been developing different areas of business and that are still doing the creative process. And you're not just trying to go on. I mean, if you have to write new material for each of these others, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
Tell me about it.
a big deal.
That's why I'm working 100 hours a week at the moment to try and get it
I
done.
can
Yeah.
can believe it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun, and for all of those listeners, thank you for holding on to this. Oh, there's always show notes. Most of my articles or most of my podcasts and shows with the Power Up After Show, I do put an article out as well, but I at least will have, I'm taking some bonuses on, so it depends when this comes. Actually, I release this. But there will be a lot of show notes in here. And of course, now with modern transcriptions, you can just get the transcript and kind of read through that. So that's wonderful. So, but
Yeah.
I make sure there's a lot of links and a lot of sourcing behind it. So thank you so much for your time.
My
And you
pleasure.
were able
Thank
to
you.
work this out. And it's been just a pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for holding on. Make sure you get our goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. You will get the updates. This one will be on it. So thanks again so much. And I'll look forward to seeing everyone again next time. So bye-bye for now. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I love bringing you insights to help you maximize your skills, resources, and experience at mid-career and beyond so that you can make your next chapter your most impactful and purposeful yet. I'm Deborah Johnson, and I can't wait to be with you again next time on the Power of After Show.